Welcome everybody back to 12 Faces of Sober Speaks. I'm your host, Kenny Watson, and this special guest that I have, I've been on her YouTube show, and I am super duper excited to have her on my show. She has a very good story to tell. I'm not going to give it away. I'm just going to go ahead and pass it on to her. But ladies and gentlemen, the also talented Rose Jenkins.
Hi, Kenneth. It is good to speak with you again. We always have the best conversations, so I am definitely excited for wherever this interview is going to take us. So like he said, I am Rose Madison Jenkins. I am the owner of Rose Inspires. I am a motivational and business development coach. I'm working with Kenneth on some of that right now to help him develop his brand, and that he's already at such a great spot. I know we're going to make some amazing stuff out of that, so I'm looking forward to that. But I just help individuals with their mindset and help them to start seeing the potential that they have once they release the attachment they have to the things that have happened to them in the past. A lot of the times when we get hurt or we get betrayed or we lose trust, we hold onto that so tight to the point where we don't want to put ourselves out there again. But to get anywhere in life, you have to step out of your comfort zone. So you have to work through that fear and let go of that attachment so that you can step out of that comfort zone and reach that next level in your life, whether that's your business, your personal life, or just your self-love. Sometimes we need to up-level our self-love and we don't even realize we're not loving ourselves because this society doesn't really show us what that looks like. So I'm excited to be helping people show them what self-love looks like and feels like.
Yeah, that's real dope. Now, why don't you tell the audience how we met and a little more detail, your background as far as St. Cloud State, and also share with them about your military background.
For sure. Yeah, so we met at St. Cloud State, and it was funny because we met the one time in the VA or in the Veterans Center, and it was just kind of like you were there and I were there, and then I saw you again after Ebony Night when you saw me paint on stage, and then you came up to me and asked me to do some paintings for you. I was like, yeah, that's dope. I got you. And it was just a great friendship that blossomed from there, between sharing our military experience with each other and sharing our art visions with each other. It was really cool. And you were my first paying customer for art, so that was really exciting, and I still appreciate that support, and I hope to get back to that someday. I just have 2 young kids right now, and I'm working on building my business, so my passion of painting isn't the priority right now because I don't want that to turn into stress. I want it to remain an outlet. Thank you. Yeah, that's still my favorite one I ever did. That's San Diego, and I absolutely love that painting. I shouldn't have sold it to you.
No,
it's your hometown, so I was like, all right.
I appreciate it. Like I said, that was a dream portrait that I, as a kid going, walking out on my porch and being able to see that view is a constant reminder. Like I said, it was on the wall in Minnesota, and now it's on the wall here in Florida. And I wanted to say to you, thank you so much for your service. I really do appreciate that. And I also appreciate the artwork that you have put together for me. I believe it's about maybe 6 or 7 pieces somewhere around my house. But like I said, I told you up front, like I support, the students of St. Cloud State because they need it. And and like I said, you had a talent, and it was like, I need more. And like I said, I know that there were some circumstances, kids and life in general. So I wasn't so much, trying to, rush you, like, hey, do what you got to do.
Right.
Whenever you get to it, I'll be okay with that. Now,
and I appreciate the understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. Now, how long were you a student at St. Cloud State?
I was a student there for 5 years, getting my undergrad in women's studies, ethnic studies, African American studies, and fine arts. I had 3 minors because I'm just the type that's always all over the place, and I have so many passions. The military was paying for me to go to school, so I was like, I'm gonna get every dollar of this experience that I can. I'm still so grateful that I took the art minor, because I added that last, but it was a great time to utilize that amazing art building that they have and really grow my skills that I already had, and then put my toes into other skills like ceramics and wood, things that I wouldn't normally be able to afford to do on my own, you know, because the school had the resources for me to do that. So I'm so glad that I took that opportunity. And I gravitated towards women's studies because when I first went to school, I wasn't really quite sure what I wanted to do. I was doing college because I was told in school that's the thing that you do. I didn't know what else to do next. So after high school, I went to the Army knowing that I was using that to pay to go to college. So I went to college. I kind of wanted to be in athletics, kind of a physical therapist, because I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to help people in some way. And as I went through school, I discovered women in ethnic studies and kind of more studying people and the way people think and the way the world works and the way people work in it. And I was really passionate about that. So I got into social work from there. And in helping my clients, I started to really have this passion for life coaching and being able to help anyone that comes across my path figure out their trials and tribulations to get to the next step. So it's crazy to me how women's studies like really led me into that, because when I first found it, I was just like, I like this, so I'm gonna pick it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, you know, and it's blossomed into like this beautiful social work career, and then spawned off this amazing life and business coaching career at the same time.
And I'm listening to you. I just noticed that we both are ethnic studies minors, because that was my minor too at St. Cloud State. I don't
Yep.
know if I told you that the first time we had the interview, but wanted to share that with you. And then the next question is, I noticed that you said that you did you joined the military and you were in. Did you do school and military at the same time?
Yeah, I joined as early, like literally as early as you can possibly join. I contacted a recruiter a week before my 17th birthday, and a week after my 17th birthday, a recruiter was at my house having my mom sign papers. I'm sorry, Mom, because I never told her they were stopping by until about 5 minutes before. And she's like, recruiter for what? I was like, oh yeah, by the way, no big, but I'm like joining the military. And she's like, we should have had a talk about that. But I'm like, it's too late. Just sign the papers. It'll be all right. Okay. I got it covered.
And then can you share with them your MOS?
It's a good one. I know a few cool people that have done it. I was a 92 golf, a cook, a culinary specialist, quartermaster, whatever you want to call it. I made the food, they ate it.
Yeah, I did that job too for 6 years, and let me tell you, ooh, painful.
Excruciating,
Yeah.
excruciatingly painful.
And now to combine the two, college and the military, how was the transition for you after you graduated from St. Cloud State, and also when you left the military?
Yeah, for sure. And going off your other question, yes, I was in high school when I joined my senior year. I was doing just weekends, and then I went off the basic days after I graduated. But then my transition after the military, I was going to college the entire time I was in, and I actually retired from the military in my last semester of college. So it was like this really weird transitional period in my life where I was ending this career that I just spent so much of my time in for the last 6 years. And I was walking out of school that I'd been in for the last 5 years. And it's like, at that point, it was constantly school, army work, school, army work. So to be reaching this point where it was just going to be work was like crazy to me. And at first I didn't know how to take it. But I didn't realize how unhappy I was in the military when I was in it. It was something about that culture and just that energy there that I felt really suicidal a lot of the time that I was there. I was constantly getting promotions. I was promoted all the way up to E5 by the time I was 21. And although I was really successful and a great leader, I just hated being there, honestly. And I didn't quite realize that until the end. So then once I stepped away, it was just like this big sigh of relief. And I was able to still appreciate the experience that I had, the knowledge I had gained, and especially the leadership qualities that I had taken on when I was there. But I was able to like brush off the parts that I didn't want. You know, I was able to maintain the parts of the community that I enjoyed, but to walk away from the toxic culture that was just like, it was toxifying my mind, you know? And so to be able to walk out of that and then finish school and walk into a field that I enjoyed doing. Social work is like such a loving and emotional field that it was a much better fit for me. And I was able to be more of myself and feel better about myself in it.
And we also have a similarity as far as sobriety. And so would you like to discuss or share with the
Yeah,
audience in terms of what led you to sobriety and what also is keeping you sober, especially during the pandemic?
oh, for sure. Whew. So what led me to sobriety? I think to talk about what led me to sobriety, I have to talk about what led me to alcohol in the first place. I had a rough childhood, poverty, abuse, and that includes physical, sexual, mental, emotional, like so much abuse from so many people. Last time I tried to count all of my abusers, it was more than one hand.
Mm.
So it's a lot. And by the time I was 13, 14, I had already started drinking and smoking. And I even, right after my 15th birthday, had attempted suicide with alcohol once. I just started drinking and felt a little better. And then I asked myself, how much of this do I need to drink to never feel bad again? How much of this do I need to drink to just end it?
Mm.
And that night, I tried to answer that question for myself unsuccessfully, obviously, and thankfully. But when I woke up in that hospital bed the next day, I really started to contemplate what I was doing here and what, like, where I was going and why. And that day, I really decided that I want to be in this life. Even though I wasn't the happiest, I was like, I'm gonna figure out how to be happy. I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna figure out how to be happy. Um, and the biggest thing was watching my family be hurt about thinking that I had been dead because my mom thought she lost me when she found me. So just knowing what it feels like to watch your mom think she lost you makes you reappreciate life. So although I never attempted suicide after that, I did continue drinking for years. Um, and then in college, I started to notice how I was using it to numb myself from the pain instead of facing the pain. I was numbing it, and it would perpetuate it most of the time and add to it. It never really helped. You know, you get drunk or you get high and it numbs it, and when you're sober, your problems are still there. So I decided to get sober to work on my problems, but also because I found out I was pregnant. I had already been not drinking very often. And then I found out I was pregnant after we left St. Cloud and moved to the cities. And from that day on, everything was about my son. My career is about my son. And now my other son, I just had a baby. My success is for them. My sobriety is for them. Everything is for them. So I stay sober so that I can be my best self for them and that I can give them the childhood and the life that I wish that I had. Everyone always says they want to give their kids everything that they never had. And I agree with that. But those things for me are love, security, motivation, helping them love themselves, just like all of the things that you need mentally as a child to grow into a healthy and successful and happy adult is what I'm trying to give my kids.
Now, during that process, did you have like a sponsor, or did you seek counseling during this process, during before the drinking and became a problem, and after, before and after? Yeah.
Yeah. I've been in therapy a bunch of times throughout my life, like literally as early as 4.
Mm.
Um, and in college, I had been to one of the university therapists just once to get a therapy note for my cat, and I touched on my drinking but didn't really get too deep in it. And I did use those cats as therapy. Like, they did make me feel a lot better. They were a great stress reliever when I'd get home from class. But then I started to pursue therapy more when I was pregnant. And unfortunately, I didn't click with the one that I had when I was pregnant. It felt like I was talking to a brick wall, and she just seemed like really sarcastic most of the time. And I was like, you're the right therapist for somebody else, but not for me. This is not the vibe. And then the summer after I had my first son, after facing some of my trauma and confronting one of my abusers in front of his wife, having an entire sit down confronting her about something that had happened 10 years before that, I decided that I needed therapy at that point. I'd kind of opened this emotional floodgate when I confronted him. And I was like, I can't go on anymore letting this past stuff like hold me down. And I ended up finding a therapist that I absolutely love. And I've been with her for almost 3 years now. And she's helped me just work through a lot. And the best thing that she's done for me is helped me realize that the thoughts we have in our own head that we think are crazy, most of the time everybody else is having them too. We just don't know because nobody talks about it.
That's true. And thank you so much for sharing that. That right there it's hard. You know, a lot of people have a tendency of not sharing, you know, information like that. And you went deep, and thank you. I really do appreciate it. I do think it is important to have a therapist that you form a bond with. And I had that. At the VA up in Minnesota. I came here and I struggled with that because, you know, each VA system is on a whole nother you know,
their whole other thing.
Phoenix was really bad. Minneapolis and then St. Cloud was okay. I felt really good, and I kind of was like, I don't know for sure how it's going to be when I come to Jacksonville. Hopefully it's better. It's not. It's almost right there on the same level as Phoenix sometimes. But yeah, I think that's the one of the most important things during the journey of sobriety, is being able to be transparent and being open with the discussion and the topics. A lot of people have a tendency of holding it back for various reasons. And I guess, you know, once you actually, you know, get comfortable enough to seek the type of help, and, you know, I think that it's helpful because you get a chance to get, like you said, you can go back to first grade on something, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's what's affecting me today, you know, and stuff like that. You know, maybe you've been carrying something from that point. So I think that's is definitely important. And I stress that message to the audience. Please get some type of either a sponsor or a therapist, if not both, because they will be truly helpful.
A sponsor, a counselor, an accountability partner, somebody else. Like, when you're on a journey, the biggest thing you can do to amplify that journey, make it go faster and get more out of it, is accountability.
Right.
So for me, my mental health journey, my therapist is my accountability partner. But in other endeavors like work and creativity, I have other people that I check in on because we need that community. It's like that community is what fuels progression. So it's like, if you can find an accountability partner for that sobriety and you two hold each other accountable and really make it a priority to be checking in with each other, you're going to be supporting each other in such an amazing way and just like quantum leaping both of your success.
Right. And to take a little shift in gears, so what is it that you're working on currently? I heard you're putting together a book.
I am. And, you know, I've got a lot of friends that have books, kind of like my friend Kenneth here. And it's really, really inspirational to watch. And for years and years, I wanted to write a book. I've literally wanted to write my life story as a book since I was 15 years old, after I got out of that hospital bed, but it wasn't the right time. And right now is finally the right season for me to write that book in, because a lot of those stories have finally come to a close. Like I said, after I confronted one of my abusers, I, I had to work through that and end that chapter. Before I confronted him, when I was pregnant with my son, I thought that I was ready to write a book. But then I realized that summer after going through that I was nowhere near ready. I didn't love myself enough. I didn't trust myself enough yet. And I didn't trust anybody else yet to let myself be vulnerable to the world. So once I started working with my therapist to work through some of those issues, I finally was comfortable enough in my life story that I could share that with other people and be vulnerable in a way that's inspiring and feeds people and doesn't hurt me or traumatize them. Because sometimes as a public figure, if you get too emotional in the wrong way or share something when it's not ready, you're just traumatizing your audience with you. So I wanted to make sure that I was at a point where I could deliver it to the world in a nutritious way, a soulfully nutritious way. So I'm there now. And yes, I am writing that book. I talk about traumas, of course, but I also talk about triumph and how I've overcome all of those adversities and how those adversities shaped who I am. There was a lot of anger that I used to hold onto for some of these things. But then I realized that they were gifts wrapped in sandpaper. Like those experiences I had to go through to learn something to be able to help myself and other people. If any of those things didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I'm grateful for the things I got out of those experiences, even if I didn't like the experience itself. So the book goes through that and then ends where I am now and how I got there and why I'm here and where I'm trying to go from there. Like what's next,
Mm-hmm. So
and I'm having a great time. It's almost therapeutic writing the book, because I've already worked through all these stories with my therapist and now I'm going through them again, but I'm going through them in more of a like hindsight. When you step out of something and you can see its beauty more outside than you could in, that's where I'm at. So I'm looking at these stories and being able to really pick the beauty out and pick like, what is it that I did there to overcome that I could give to somebody else,
Right, I like that. I like that. And so what would be your target audience? Who are you trying to reach? Who do you want to pick up the book and buy it?
Good question, because at first I had no clue. And my writing coach, she told me the best advice she's given me so far is that the book doesn't have to be just one target audience. When you're writing a chapter, who is that chapter for?
Mm-hmm.
And that helped me so much because there's some chapters that are for my veterans, and they know that struggle and that speaks to them. There's some chapters that are for my sexual assault survivors and that's for them and their journey. And then there's parts for my artists that are doubting their self-worth and their creativity. And you know what I mean? There's different chapters for different communities that I'm a part of and different traumas that I've been through that will speak to different people, for sure.
I like that. That's a good answer. Now, seeing that you've had the opportunity to read 12 Faces of Sober, why don't you let the audience know why would they want to read the book?
Oh man, why would they want to read the book? Because it's one of those just like feel good, not all the way through, it's one of those feel good at the end kind of mountaintop, he made it through kind of books that make you realize like if Kenneth can go through all of this and find his sobriety, wherever I'm at, I can figure it out too. Because sobriety is such a big thing to tackle and everybody has their own journey and we always compare ourselves to other people, which isn't always healthy. But when someone like Kenneth comes out and shares his story in a healthy way, like I said with mine, a soulfully nutritious way where somebody that's still in their use is able to take that in and see healthy advice and not just kind of like trauma porn like I talked about before. It's not like a woe is me, oh, let's be alcoholic together. It's more of, okay, Kenneth made it through, now I can do it. And he gave me this advice to do so,
Yeah.
That's what I love about your book.
I appreciate the kind words. Now, we're getting close to the end of the interview. I want you to inspire my audience. Leave them with something good. If it's something about sobriety, something about mental health, any topic you would like to leave them with. Bless them with something, with some
For
game.
sure. For sure. I'll answer. How about this? All three? What'd you say? Sobriety, mental health, and inspiration?
Mm-hmm.
I got you, Kenneth.
Appreciate
so going back to what you said earlier, you talked about talking about your mental health. And yes, please start sharing what you're going through. And what you need to be mindful of is at first, you're going to realize who's toxic in your life. Because when you share what you're going through with some people, they're either going to, woe is me, oh yeah, that sucks, like let's suck together. Or they're just going to give you really shit advice. And you're going to know that it's shit advice from the bat. And it's like, you don't have to cut that person out your life. Just cut them out of your sobriety. You know, just know that that person is not the person that I go to talk about my mental health, because they're not going to be helpful. And then find those people that are helpful and make them your accountability partner. Make them your, you know, if you can't afford therapy for yourself right now, although there is great resources on the internet, I thank the pandemic for that. The pandemic has made mental health resources so available. I see my therapist on Zoom, and our sessions haven't been any less impactful than when we were meeting in person. So like, I really do encourage people to utilize those new resources that we have to get your mental health. But if you're not in a space where you're ready for therapy, or you feel like you can't afford it, find somebody that's healthy to talk to, that you know feeds you well, and talk to each other more often. Like he said, find a sponsor, go to an AA meeting if that's what you need to do, if that's where you're at in your mental health journey, and explore that and let yourself open up. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. The thing that I've learned the most is self-compassion. I'm a perfectionist. That doesn't mean I'm perfect, because perfect does not exist. That just means that I'm always reaching for the unrealistic idea of perfection that I have. So I've had to learn to give myself compassion, remind myself it doesn't all have to be perfect. I don't have to do it all. And I encourage you to do that for yourself. Take it step by step, day by day. You know, if you're really struggling with drugs and alcohol, and quitting cold turkey tomorrow doesn't work for you, because it doesn't work for 95% of us, take your baby steps. One less hit there, one less drink here. And if you continue on that and give yourself grace and applaud yourself and celebrate yourself for those little wins, then eventually you're going to be at that point of sobriety, and you're going to have done it in a way where you loved yourself the entire way, and you grew into an amazing person on that journey. And you learn, what are my triggers? What sets me off? Slowly, so that you can learn to avoid those, and you can put in new, you know, new healthy coping mechanisms for yourself. So please seek mental health. Start talking about it. This society makes us feel like we shouldn't talk about it, like we should all just have it together all the time, and we don't. And that's okay. None of us do. Nobody's perfect. We all got our own shit we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Just talk about it. Okay. Right. And you said, so that's my piece on mental health. Okay. That's my advice for you there. In terms of inspiration, I was talking to someone yesterday, and she was asking me about the fear of success. She was asking me, you know, I'm finally ready to work on this book and write this story, but I'm scared. I'm scared of success. Why? Why am I scared of that? I want to write this book so bad. I want it to be out there. But then when I think about me being out there with that book and in front of people, I'm scared. And I'm scared to the point that I almost don't want to do it. And what I told her is that fear is telling you two things. The first thing is that you are scared of being vulnerable. Art, which a book is, art has to have an audience to consume it to be successful, right? So you know that you're going to be in front of people and you don't like that vulnerability because you aren't happy with what's in here. And I told her, I'm not speaking for you. I'm speaking from experience because I can tell that you're where I've been at before, where you're scared of success, you're scared, you're full of fear for that. And that fear is telling you that you need to work on yourself and be completely comfortable in yourself before you step out into that, so that you know you've got all your, you know, in the military, you're all squared away, so that you know there's nothing for anybody to hit you on. You know your triggers, you know what sets you off. So when you're out there in front of people, you know you're not going to be set off out of nowhere. You're not going to start crying on stage in front of an audience when you're talking about your book. You've worked through enough to feel confident in your stories, to feel confident in yourself, that you can be vulnerable, and you can take that success and use that fear as your fuel in that success. The second thing that I told her was that she's afraid of stepping out of her comfort zone. So fear is a natural reaction in our body. It's evolution. It's what brought us here. Our ancestors feared certain predators and certain things for a reason, so that they avoided them and they didn't get hurt. And now your body has, and your mind has been trained to fear certain things in life because you've been hurt before. Your trust has probably been broken before. You may have been embarrassed before. You could have been through trauma before, and you put yourself out there and you were hurt. So now your brain evolutionally is telling you, don't put yourself out there again because we are going to be hurt. So that's what that fear is telling you. That's why that fear is telling you to stop. But when you think about it, everything great in your life started from fear first. That first day of kindergarten, were you scared? Because I was scared shitless when I walked on that huge bus full of kids by myself out of mommy's house. But obviously, I had to go through that to become an educated member of society, right? And it's like that with every job, every endeavor, every project, every relationship. We're always scared when we walk into it, but we have to be confident that either we're going to succeed and it's going to be amazing on the other side of fear, or we're going to fail and we're going to learn from that failure. Once you accept that failures can be learning opportunities, you no longer fear that. And you know that even if I fail, I'm going to learn more so that I can be more successful next time. It's not a failure. It's just a step on the way to success. And that's what I told her. So I told her, own that, walk into that fear, work on yourself first, and then know that everything on the other side of fear is amazing and it's success. So step into it.
Thank you for sharing that. And so why don't you go ahead and let us know where we can reach you at on social media.
For sure.
Make sure you get you some more followers, because you definitely shared a lot of good information.
Thank you, Kenneth. Like I said, I am the owner of Rose Inspires. So you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. I'm about to make a TikTok soon. You type in Rose Inspires into Google and you will find me everywhere. So find me, come find me, guys. I want to see you. You want to see me. Let's up-level our greatness together.
And Rose, I wanted to say again, thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for coming on 12 Faces of Sober Speaks. You exerted the greatest amount of energy that I've met since this journey of being sober. And I really do appreciate it. And just like you said to me, I'm an inspiration. You're an inspiration to me, just to see your journey and the growth that I've seen since 2017 now. So big shouts out to that. And ladies and gentlemen, this concludes episode number 3 of 12 Faces of Sober Speaks. Like I said, each interview is going to continue to get better. I'm going to continue to have great people, great content, great topics, and you're going to learn something each time you're on here. This is 12 Faces of Sober. Y'all have a good one.